Hari Om. In today's lesson, we will carry on with Bhagavad Gita, chapter 16, from verse 17 onwards. And what we are seeing so far in these previous verses is Lord Krishna describing the nature of demoniac people. And as explained earlier, demoniac people fall under two categories. One group of demoniac people, they do not believe in God, they don't believe in worship, in karmas, in heaven and hell. And there is also another group of demoniac people who do worship God, who do have some faith in God and some faith in the worship, but they perform the rituals just not for the love of God, but to gain more power, strength, position. So in today's verse 17, Lord Krishna speaks about such kind of demoniac people who perform prayers, but let's see for what purposes. So in verse number 17, that is chapter 16, the Lord says that these people, the demonic people, they perform all types of pujas and rituals, but it is out of the word he uses here is Atma Sambhavitaha. Atma Sambhavitaha. Atma here means the self, not the soul, but it means the person itself. Is Sambhavitaha means a conceited person who has pride, superiority complex. All the time they are glorifying themselves. So they speak highly about themselves and all their glories, as the saying goes, always blowing their own trumpet. And what else is their nature? The Lord says, Stabdaha. Stabdaha means they are haughty, they lack humility, they cannot bow down to gurus, to spiritual people, to Mahatmas. So they have this haughtiness in them. And what else? The Lord says they are able to boast about their accomplishments. They look down upon others because they have so much more wealth than others. And we have heard this common saying, money has gone to his head. Don't we often hear that? Meaning, what do we mean by this? We mean that their powers of discrimination to distinguish between what is right and wrong conduct is overpowered by their intoxication of wealth and power. So the Lord says here they are madaha. Madaha means they are intoxicated with what? Dhana, with their immense wealth. So they think they have a lot of money and that intoxicates them. And anvitaha, they are filled with mana, pride. All their thoughts and actions are governed by their wealth and pride. And unfortunately, when you have money and power, many people will come and bow down to you, sing your praises, and therefore with money and power, our arrogance grows when people glorify us, and where there is arrogance, then devotion for God, love for God cannot exist together. Thus, arrogance and devotion can never go hand in hand. When money and power comes, arrogance comes, humility goes, and devotion for God also goes. And even though these people, they don't have any love for God, they don't have any devotion for God, however, they perform all sorts of rituals and pujas for the sake of showing off to the public how spiritual they are. The purpose of earning wealth is to serve society and remain humble, but such people get carried away by their wealth and arrogance and need to show off. So the Lord says in this verse, they meaning the demoniac materialistic people, yajante, they perform without any faith, devotion and humility. They perform all sorts of sacrifices, rituals, prayers. And Krishna gives a very appropriate name to such kind of yajnas. He calls them Nama Yajna. Very beautiful word he uses here. Nama Yajnas. Nama Yajnas means Yajnas performed for namesake. Yajnas done to propitiate, not to propitiate or love God, but for self-serving efforts to promote their name and fame, and the entire purpose of the yajnas is actually meant for the benefit of society. But these demoniac people, they are not interested in performing yajnas for the welfare of the world. Society is forgotten, and thus all the yajnas are for their personal self only. And when they perform these yajnas, what is the hallmark of their yajnas? Lord says these yajnas performed by these demoniac people out to satisfy for their selfish needs. They perform these yajnas dhambena, full of ostentation. When they organize yajnas and pujas, and also when they do dhanam, they ensure that all important people of society, VIPs, are invited. Grand decorations are made. Unlimited varieties of food is served. Maybe sometimes even press is called also, the media is called. So all they do is go out of the way to perform all these rituals and prayers, just not for the sake of pleasing Bhagwan, but for the sake of showing off their power, their strength, and their status in society. Because the Lord has said in the Gita, He never asked for elaborate prayers or elaborate offerings. He said in chapter 9, just offer me a leaf, a fruit, a flower, or some water, but offer it to me with a genuine heart, I accept. So the Lord is not interested in the quantity you offer, but in the quality that you offer. But these people, when they perform yajnas, it's dhambena, full of ostentation. And also the Lord uses another word here, avidhi purvakam. Avidhi purvakam means they don't even want to follow the procedures of the scriptures. They violate whatever procedures they follow. They try to find shortcuts to all the prayers and rituals. They are not interested in how the mantras are chanted, whether the priests have been paid the right dakshina, whether the right materials have been offered. So the end result of such yajnas does not yield much results, and worse still may lead even adverse results. So even priests are helpless as these materialistic people are too powerful. So vidhi here means scriptural instructions. Avidhi means violating scriptural instructions. And we can refer back to an earlier verse in chapter 16, verse 15, where the demoniac people say, I shall perform sacrifices, give charity, and rejoice. Rejoice when people praise me for the elaborate, prayers I'm doing. When people praise me for knowing how much money I've given to charity, I will rejoice in that kind of attention. Then the Lord goes on in verse number 18, still describing demoniac people. And in verse number 18, the nature of demoniac people is that by cultivating a predominantly materialistic lifestyle and not giving any consideration to developing inner purity from our prayers, from our rituals, the real purpose is to develop inner purity, purity of mind. But these people, they are not interested in all that. So the Lord says they samsritaha, meaning they resort to or will develop all these defects in their character. In order to achieve everything that they want, they are bounded by greed, pride, etc., arrogance. So what happens, he says, these people, samsritaha, they resort to ahamkara. They are full of egoism, always thinking only about themselves as being high and mighty. And this mental condition, this ego at the mental level, will always manifest in the way they speak, in the way they perform their actions. And the favorite word for such people is the word I. I did this, I did that, I only did that. So ahankar is one of their characteristics. Second is phalam, means power. They are always boasting about their power and position. Now, while power can be positive if it is used to help others, however, for demoniac people, they are proud of using their power to suppress or destroy others. And we can see many stories in the Puranas when the Asuras, when they did tapas, and Bhagwan came and granted them the boons, the Asuras asked for power and they used that power to destroy good people. But Bhagwan always found a way to punish these Asuras for abuse of that power. Some even use illegal means to get power and then use all the illegal means to hold on to their power. So these demonic people are not interested in inner purity, peace of mind, spiritual progress, or welfare of the world. What else is their quality? The Lord says darpam. Darpam means arrogance at physical and verbal level. By disrespecting elders in the way they talk to the elders, disrespecting gurus, mahatmas from the way they conduct themselves with such people, and they are always using harsh or sarcastic words on others. Another quality of these people, the Lord says, is kamam. Kamam here means desire. And desire can be good for, can be for good things. We can have desire to do dhanam, we can have desire to do seva, but these demonic people have desires to do adharmic actions. So the way they earn their money is by adharmic means. They spend their money on adharmic things. They are not a master of their desires, but a slave of their desires. And such uncontrolled desires can lead to the next quality, which is called krodha or anger. As the reason why desires can lead to anger is because when desires are generated by the mind, there can be unlimited desires. But the resources to satisfy these desires are limited. We can have many desires in the mind, but can we physically satisfy all these desires? So the unrealized desires lead to different levels of krodha, anger, frustration, disappointment. The more our desires are interrupted, and if our desire is so strong, then the interruption or the obstacle can lead to greater anger. And so the Lord says some more of these qualities of these people. He says they not only have all these qualities by which they destroy others, but they also pratvishantaha. They hate. Who do they hate? Mam, they hate the Lord also. They have no love for the Lord, but on top of that, they even hate the Lord. Although they are following some form of pujas and rituals, but it is not out of love and devotion, but only for their selfish means. So such demonic people in reality actually hate me, says Krishna, and thus by hating me, they hate my teachings. Why? Because Bhagwan's teachings are all pointing to their wrong actions and what punishments they will get for performing these wrong actions. So they don't like hearing all this, and thus they are averse to hearing or reading the scriptures talking about ethical and moral values which they don't follow. They don't want to be reminded of their own wrongdoings. They violate all the injunctions given in the scriptures. Now, and where is this, what you call Bhagwan? Bhagwan says they hate me. So where is this Bhagwan? He says, Atma para deheshu. This Bhagwan resides in Atma, means own, para, and other people's deheshu. So the Bhagwan that they hate actually is residing within themselves, the divinity. That same Bhagwan is residing as divinity in everything else in creation. So he says, by violating all the teachings, they follow adharma, they cause harm not only to themselves, they destroy themselves spiritually. Materialistically, they may be very advanced, they may be very positive, but spiritually they are destroying themselves by their actions. And not only they destroy themselves, they also destroy others also. And the Lord says, I reside everywhere. So actually they are also trying to, what you call, by their anger, they are also destroying everything also in this nature. So in reality, they are also hurting me also, the Lord says. And since others are following the dharmic path, others who follow a moral and ethical lifestyle, so these demonic people, they feel guilty and they can't stand to witness, or they are very much against people who are following a righteous path. So what do? The Lord says one of their qualities is abhya suyakaha, meaning they find faults or defects in other people's lifestyle. They criticize dharmic people. They criticize the way you live your life. They say in this day and age, if you follow a moral and ethical lifestyle, you will not be able to survive. They say, look at me, how I am prospering by leading a adharmic lifestyle. So they hope that you join and follow their way of living. And they even criticize you for going for spiritual talks, for going to temples, for following an ethical lifestyle. And if they can convince more and more people to follow their lifestyle, that makes them feel more confident. So this is also their nature. The Lord goes on in verse number 19 still to carry on describing the nature of Asuric people. Since these Asuras, with all their adharmic qualities, they can be very destructive to God's creation. God has to give some remedy. Due to greed, man has destroyed other humans by creating wars, murdering others, cheating others. Man, out of his own greed, has also destroyed certain animal population like whales, sharks, turtles for food, hunted elephants and rhinoceros almost out of extinction for their ivory. Man, out of greed, has also exploited the environment by destroying forests. So all this destruction caused by Asuric people, what is Bhagwan's punishment? What will be the phalam of Asuric living? For the present time, they may enjoy some benefits of luxury, of what we call luxury houses, cars, abundant money. But in the long term, they will face the consequences. The law of karma is the law of God, and the law of God is always perfect. We only see reward and punishment in this present lifetime, but the law of karma takes into account reward and punishment in past, present, and future lives. So the Lord says, as these Asuric people are ajasram asubhan. Ajasram asubhan means they are constant evildoers. They are always out to destroy others, destroy environment, cause harm to the creation. So they are, the Lord calls them Naradhaman. Naradhaman means they are the worst among all human beings, the worst among all creation, worst, even more worse than even animals and insects. The reason being that demoniac humans have the capability and the resources and the intelligence to destroy the entire creation. So the Lord calls them as Kruran, meaning they are very cruel in their thoughts, in their actions. They have no compassion, no humility, no love for anything other than themselves. And they are also, the Lord uses another word here, Dvisataha. They are hateful of pious people. They hate dharmic people and also Bhagwan and his scriptures. So wealthy and powerful these people have become that no power on earth can destroy them. So Bhagwan says, I have to step in and give the remedy to such people. So Bhagwan says, Tan, those people who have all these demonic qualities and cause destruction to the world, I will shipami, meaning I will throw them, I will cast them to either samsareshu, in the paths leading to hell. In this very life, they will suffer all kinds of pains and sorrows, or in the next life, I will cast them into asuri, demoniacal yonishu wombs. What are demoniacal wombs? They are the lower forms of creation, they will be cast into animal wombs, plants, or insects. Since these people do not value the gift of human birth, where God has given us the chance to follow His Dharma, serve society, and attain salvation, but we use this freedom of the human form, this human birth, to acquire wealth and power to destroy God's creation, then God says, I have to imprison you in an animal, insect, or plant birth, where you lose the freedom to cause any more destruction. Then in verse number 20, again the Lord carries on to give more qualities of the demonic people. So, a sattvic lifestyle of observing divine qualities, and where there is a balance of the four purusharthas, dharma, kama, artha, moksha, will result in spiritual progress. A rajasic lifestyle, where there are qualities of greed, selfishness, excessive pursuit of materialism, where predominance is given to artha and kama over dharma and moksha, will lead to spiritual stagnation. There is no scope for spiritual growth, as even religion is used for materialistic gains. However, a tamasic lifestyle, where qualities of anger, hatred, violence are followed and only kama and artha are pursued, and dharma and moksha are totally ignored, that lifestyle will bring destruction and pain to others and will result in a spiritual downfall and spiritual downfall. Spiritual stagnation is a very big problem because it will lead to loss of right to another human birth. And the scriptures continuously give us examples of asuras who violated dharma and the destruction they came to. And although initially these asuras seem to be prospering and getting stronger and destroying others, but eventually the law of karma caught up with them and they paid the price for violation of dharma. So, all through studying the experiences of others, from studying the words of the scriptures, and from the guidance of parents and gurus, those who have a value for spirituality and want to avoid the consequences of adharma should strive to follow the sattvic lifestyle. But asuric people, they have no what we call faith in the teachings of the scriptures, and because of their arrogance, they do not want to learn from their elders, gurus, and mahatmas. They follow their own instincts, giving in to their desires and pay the consequences of violation of dharma. And initially, one may have free will and feel some conscience at violating dharma. But as the violation continues and the vasanas for enjoying the fruits of adharma get stronger and stronger like an addiction, the free will get overpowered. Then violation of dharma becomes bigger and bigger. So Krishna says, how does he step in to give a remedy? He says, appanna, having entered into yonim, into the wombs of asuri, to demoniacal wombs, meaning having casting these people into lower form of births in next life, what happens? The Lord calls these people mudaha. Mudaha means people who don't have the power of discrimination due to their strong tamasic gunas, and from mudaha you promote yourself to become vimudaha, more bigger fools. So Lord says these mudaha, these deluded souls, janmani janmani, birth after birth, uncountable janmas. Why? Repeated wrong actions, papa karmas, make the vasana stronger. These vasanas in turn push us into more wrong actions to violate dharma, which in turn makes the vasanas more stronger, and thus the vicious cycle goes on and on, causing repeated cycles of birth and death. So where do these repeated cycles of birth and death occur? Lord says, Tatho, then, yanti, they attain adhaman, lower gati, lower conditions. They continue birth and birth upon birth to suffer in lower wombs to more and more inferior births. So Krishna says, in this way, Aprapi means they do not reach mam eva. They don't reach me at all. They don't come to me. They don't merge with me. They go further and further away from me into a lower form. They have no opportunity to worship me. They have no opportunity to listen or read the scriptures. There are 7 levels of patal, the hell, lokas. So one can go on and on to lower and lower births. The lower one goes, the more higher the degree of pain and suffering. So the obvious question will be now, what is going to save these demonic ones? They go lower and lower births. Is there no hope for them? What happens to them? Once they continue to exhaust their papams in Patal Loka, in the hellish planes, whatever adharmic actions are done, there is no new accumulation of papam. Thus, when the old previous papams have been fully exhausted, once again, with the help of at least some good karmas, remaining karmas they may have had, they get back their human birth. And again in human birth, they are given another golden opportunity, hopefully with some punyam, to meet the right guru, to be born in the right family, who will guide them back to the dharmic path. That's why one must value the gift of human birth and not waste it in the pursuit of sensual and material desires, but use the human birth for the purpose that God has gifted it us for, to attain self-realization. If we fail to understand and use this human birth in the right manner, then we will surely suffer the consequences and once again attain inferior births. So how can we avoid this demoniac life and avoid going into lower births? The next 4 closing verses of chapter 16, from verse 21 to 24, the Lord will give us the remedy. And we will come back in the next video and discuss the final 4 closing verses of chapter 16. Hari Om Tat Sat.